Okay, can everybody hear me? I can already see delays. Let me check here. I'm already looking at delays. We are having a technically difficult day already. Computers freezing up, not moving as fast as it usually does. All the things, all the issues, all the complications. God, I pray this thing turns out right. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see if it's in real time on my phone and it's keeping up with me. We're gonna keep it going. Jesus, I just had it up. Hold on. Now, why isn't it? It says waiting. Um, okay, it is a little delayed. I feel like I'm moving like a robot. Okay, it is a little delayed. I feel like I'm moving like a robot. I'm gonna do my best, you all. I don't know. I don't know. I am at a different location today. And so I guess the internet here is just not as not as good um, as back at the home base. I was trying something different. So I will try to talk slower and not move as much. Welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Adjuster Checkup. Can we start with our opening music? Okay. We might have to redo this episode next week, depending on if the internet will ever catch up. Or I might have to do a pre recorded video and then repost this episode of Adjuster Checkup. And let me see, let me make sure my windows, my tasks are closed. You all just give me a moment just to do some adjusting, some technical difficulty adjusting, if you will. It looks like a lot of the memory is being used. So let me see if I can shut down some background programs and that may be contributing to um, some of this delay. I don't know by how much, but maybe if I get it closed out, um, I can get some things going because I am at my wits' end with all of the technical mess. It is driving me up the wall. Okay. Some things are open. Looks like less memory. I'm getting it down for less memory being used. Fingers crossed. Mm-mm. It is so choppy. This makes zero sense. It may be the server that I'm working under. It just may be slow. It just may be slow. And that just might be it is what it is kind of thing. Okay. And there may not be anything we can do about it. I'm trying to close all of my browsers, all of the windows right now that I can. Okay. This is as good as it gets, everybody. So let me see. Maybe I can close this too. I hope that doesn't affect the live. Okay, I don't think that affected the live. Okay. Okay. Quit trying to use my USB device. As a matter of fact, turn that off. Let me see. Turn that off. We're not reading from there. Okay. We only reading from the microphone and the lights. Okay. All right. So this week's episode is covering, hold on, let me pull up my notes. Okay. This week's episode, oh wait, before I get there. Hello, everyone. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Charlene Hoskins. I am the founder and CEO of a company named TPAS LLC. What we do at TPS is we are a property and casualty education firm that specializes in the education and upgrading the skill set of the insurance claims professional. All right, specifically the insurance adjuster. Okay. I am your host. I am the curator and founder of all the things. Okay. I am an adjuster, an independent adjuster. I have been an independent adjuster for the last 19 years. Got a lot of experience under my belt. I have worn many hats. And so now this podcast is just a checkup. It's just all about keeping your finger on the pulse with what's going on with adjusters, giving you the knowledge, sometimes the encouragement that you need in order to keep going. Okay. Or if you're new to the adjusting industry and you want to become an adjuster, listening here to the Adjuster Checkup podcast may give you some ideas and some insights on how to get started. All right, but not this particular episode. Okay, so the episode that we're going over today, and I know it is going to be triggering. If you are not an ally of Black and Brown people, you're not going to like what I have to say. So I suggest that you just mosey on along. Okay. But the thing is that your experience is not ours, and nobody's experience is the same. So I can only come from the angle of I'm a brown woman, and I have had some experiences that are unique to my skin color. And that's what we're going to talk about. So the title of this episode, of course, we're in Building Resilience Part 2. I mentioned that I was going to talk about adjusting while black last week. I didn't have time to get into it, so we're getting into it this week. And we're going to talk about overcoming challenges in insurance adjusting while you're black or brown. All right. So we're going to give some real life accounts. This is going to be a little bit of story time for this particular episode. We are going to talk about things that have happened and the way that it was overcome. Some of the ways that it was overcome was not my finest moments. I will say that, especially in the beginning when I was new as an adjuster. But then as I time went along, I found a way um, to cope with it. I found a way to not allow the hurt and the anger from people who are prejudiced and ignorant to ruin my adjusting career. Okay, so let's give you let's dive into some of these personal stories, and I'm going to close out of um, this right here. Hopefully that'll help. I have no other windows open right now but the YouTube window. So during Hurricane Katrina, when I first started, my mother and I, we were deployed to Mobile, Alabama. And we actually, in the beginning, were not technically adjusters. We were brought in to be what they call, first of all, it was kind of you stood in line and they asked you a series of really quick questions and they slotted you for either the field or some other role. Most people got the field. Luckily for us, because I don't think we would have been ready for the field at that moment. Um, my mother and my aunt had already been there. I was told to come down, and they asked me when I was in the line, "You good on computers?" I said, "Yeah, you know." At the time, I was 25. I had not too long ago graduated from college, and so I was like, "Yeah, I'm good on computers." Like, how many papers have I written on a computer, right? And so they were like, "Okay, you're MSB help room." And MSB was a program that we use very similar, well, not similar at all, really, in some ways, to what you all use now, which is Exactimate. And so that's what we were supposed to do. We had to learn the MSB program, and then we had to work in the help room to help the adjusters who were coming in from the field put the information that they physically observed as damages at the lost locations and put it into an estimating format, right? And so when we first arrived to the help room, there were already three Caucasian adjusters who were working there, two men and one woman. The room was set up like a rectangular shape, and there were 2 double doors that you could get into the room for the right or the left. They had already dictated what the quote "front of the room" was, because that's where they sat. They sat behind a series of tables that they had made out, and it was a open table in front of them. Behind them were, like, little cubby holes, like, with paper organized for handouts and whatever they needed to give to the adjusters. So, when we first arrived, we happily introduced ourselves, and we said, "Hey," they told us we were slotted for the help room to help out, and we proceeded to put our whatever we had in our hands, our book bags, our purses behind the counter, behind the table. And we were immediately told, um, "There's no room up here. You all need to go to the back of the room." And I will say what comforted me in this time is that I did have somebody there with me that shared the experience with me, which was my mother. And for me, it was definitely culture shock. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I did not make it to St. Louis, Missouri until I was a teenager. I had dealt with racism in Missouri. I had not dealt with any racism in California, despite the whole thing with Rodney King and all that. I was still a kid. I really hadn't dealt with racism in California and Los Angeles at that time. Um, but I definitely in Missouri in the 90s, you could cut it with a knife. In some respect in Missouri, still you could cut it with a knife. That's racial tension. So we looked at each other and we just gave each other a look, nonverbal communication. We understood what we understood, right? He's like, okay. And we would we went to the back of the room. During that process, one of the things that was happening was when the black, of course, adjusters from every color were working those Katrina losses. And one thing that we noticed was when the black adjusters noticed that we were there, they were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you all are here. They won't help us." So forget the bigger picture that at the end of the day, these adjusters are working claims for people who are black, white, Asian, Indian, whatever. You're so hell bent on being prejudiced and racist that you won't even give these adjusters the help that they need in order to help the daggone insurers, which is the bigger picture. Because if your IA firm isn't handling claims in a timely manner, yeah, eventually that adjuster will get moved out. But guess who gets to suffer in that while y'all playing racial games behind the scenes? The insured. Guess who looks bad? The IA firm overall. It looks like you have a group of people, or it looks like you have claims that are not being handled in a timely manner. So it helps no one to be that way. Okay. Um, so my mother and I made it our business from that point forward to learn everything that we needed to learn so that we could get as smart as possible. You know how we talk about in our community, you got to be 10 times smarter. You got to work 10 times harder. You got to be 10 times faster. And that is exactly the mindset we took on. And I began to sneak away during breaks and at lunches. I would sit in on the MSB Integra Claim classes that they were hosting over and over again because that IA firm had taken over the hotel. So they would have the same classes over and over again. And I would sit in them every chance I got until everything started sinking in. I decided to beat them at their own game by being smarter than them. That's one way you can go about doing this. Like rise above the haters. What did Candy say? I fly above all the haters. I fly above. Okay. It's beneath me. It's beneath me. And so that's what we decided to do. And so what ended up happening is at first the room was very divided. The white adjusters would be in the quote unquote front of the room. The black adjusters would be in the quote unquote back of the room being held by us. Until the white adjusters started noticing that the help that the black adjusters were getting from us was better than the help that they were getting from those other white help room helpers. And the dynamic of the room began to change to where all of the white adjusters now no longer want to even be helped by them. They only want to be helped by us. So much so that they waited in line until we got to them. So if we were working with another person, they'd be like, "It's okay, I'll wait. I'll wait on Deborah. I'll wait on Charlotte." That came to a boiling point for the white help room helpers, um, Caucasian help room helpers, to where one day an adjuster, white adjuster, wanted my attention, and I told him, "Hey, no problem. I'll get to you. Let me wrap up with this guy," and he was fine with it. And the Caucasian help room helper came over from behind his desk because they still weren't treating him right. They were still sitting behind the desk. They still had this air of, "Y'all need us for help." I'm like, "You do understand that if you don't help them, your butt ain't got no job neither." Okay, whatever. Um, and he tried to help the adjuster, and it was because I had been going to the MSB training classes so much, I knew about all the glitches of the program. Not only had I learned how to work the program seamlessly and be able to teach others how to work the program seamlessly, I had learned all the glitches about the program because I was reporting to the trainer daily, and I was telling him about the problems the adjusters was having daily because he was tapped into whoever could fix it. And so it was a issue that a glitch was involved, and the adjuster couldn't figure out how to get around it. The help room helper, because they were out of touch, gave them the old fixed way, which no longer worked, and I was aware of it. And so when I heard him, he insisted on helping this guy. This guy was like, "No, no, 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 Charlene's got me." He's like, "I can do it, I can do it." And so um, when that happened, um, he said, "Okay, well, okay." And he just looked at me like, "Oh Lord." And I was like, "It's okay, let him help you." So he gave him the old solution, and I just kinda overheard it, and I said, "Hey, that's an old solution. It's another way we gotta get around it now." I said, "But go ahead and try to do it the way he's telling you because maybe they fixed it, right?" And so the guy tried it, it didn't work. And so being who I am, just being instructional and informative, I just simply said to the Caucasian adjuster, I said, "Yeah, this is the problem." I referenced the other Caucasian trainer of the program. "Hey, I've been talking to, whoever he was, Dan, and Dan told me this is how we're gonna do it." So then I told the adjuster how to do it the correct way, and it worked, right? He was able to move around the problem. And the guy got really pissy, and he was like, and I'll never forget this, it is seared in my brain, his accent, the way his face looked, the way his mouth looked. I know this guy's face if I ever see him again. He said, "You're not from around here, are you?" And me just being friendly and gullible. And I said, "No, I'm not from around here. Why would you say that?" And he said, "I can tell you're not from around here because talking like that to one of these boys around here, they've been and bust you upside your head." Now, forget the fact that I'm a woman. I mean, forget the fact that I'm black. I'm a woman. And he talking about because he got corrected by me getting one of the boys from around there to bust me upside my head. Needless to say, you all, it wasn't my proudest moment. I lost my shit. And I just went on ahead and said what everybody had been wanting to call us the entire time, which was the N word. And I said, um, I think I responded in like kind, and I said something like, "Oh, so you want to bust me upside my head," but my voice crescendoed. So it started off really low, and by the time I got to the word head, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. And then I said, "Let me tell you something. All I got to do was make one phone call, and I'll have five N words." And I said the word. I said, I'll have 50 N words down here from St. Louis, Missouri, standing over your MF and head tomorrow morning. Now tell me something else about busting me upside my GD head. And he got all red in the face. And what I didn't know that my mother had to tell me afterwards was that when I was saying that, I was walking towards him. I know in the back of my head, I was thinking if I could just get within arm's length of this guy, I'm going to knock him out. I was definitely having a Miss Seeley moment, okay? Or a Miss Sophia moment. Like, no, Miss Sophia, don't do it. Um, all I remember after that, because I was about to start seeing red, is I remember my mother's hand on my arm, and I remember her softly saying, "My name, Charlene. Charlene, come on, let's go." Um, that was my first experience as a new adjuster dealing with racial tension in this industry. Very first assignment. We were not too far into the assignment before it got like that. We were maybe 2, 3 weeks in the help room when that incident happened, and the whole freaking room saw and heard what the hell happened. I will say this: I don't recommend people to snap off like that. It was a unique situation. Do I think I could have handled it better? I do, but I don't regret the way I handled it. It shut everything down. There were no more microaggressions because there was other things that were being said to us outside of that. It was just it just got to a boiling point at that point. We were also dealing with the fact that because we were Black in Mobile, Alabama, despite us going to work with our full with the carrier we were working for at that time, we had on a full uniform with the carrier. We had the khakis, we had the carrier shirt on with the carrier logo. We had a lanyard over our neck that had our face with the carrier's name on it. Every time we walked outside of that health room and into the hotel, every single Caucasian person that saw us just assumed we were the help and would just automatically walk up to us and start telling us what they needed in their room. And every time we would have to say, "I'm sorry, we don't work here." And then they would finally look at us and step back and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and walk away. They just assumed because of the color of our skin we were the help. So let's talk about outside forces that you what I would recommend in the future, make an HR complaint. Um, See if anybody who witnessed it would be willing to also put something in writing about what they witnessed to back you up and make an HR complaint. It very well nothing will ever happen, but at least you have it on record because if things like that continue, you need backup, you need documentation to back up the conversation. Okay. And don't do what they want you to do. They want you to act out. He wanted me to pounce his ass, so I would have a reason to be fired. But thankfully, by the grace of God, my mother was there. Had she not been there on that assignment with me, it probably would have been the end of it. That probably would have been the last assignment I ever worked. You're gonna have to deal with insureds who are also racist. I have heard stories of field adjusters. I never had to deal with it, thankfully, but unfortunately for the Black men, Black and brown men out there, I've heard the stories that have come back to me from the adjusters that I've trained where, yeah, I had an appointment. I'm sitting in my truck. My truck has the magnet of the insurance company on the sides. I've got my uniform on. I've got my lanyard on. I'm clean cut. My clothes are ironed. They're tucked in. I'm wearing my belt. My pants are up on my hips. They're not down around my waist. And everything, I'm looking clean cut. And next thing you know, somebody calls the police on me. The neighbor called the police on me. They thought I was a suspicious character despite how I looked. They just saw the skin. Um, Unfortunately, what I would say for that, if you're in the field and that happens, if it's not the insured themselves and it's the neighbor, check in with the insured. Of course, you got to deal with the cops. Call as soon as the cops are pulling you over. Don't go recording stuff on your phone. Call your manager. Whoever your field manager is, say, "Hey, I just pulled up to this house. Cops just pulled up behind me." Even if you don't know if the cops are going to be talking to you, as soon as you see a cop pull up behind you, and also please make sure that you are when you're in the field have spatial awareness. Pay attention to what's going on around you, even if you're down looking at your computer, you're trying to wrap up an estimate or whatever, so that if you do see a cop pulling up or spying or whatever, you immediately, or even a neighbor, you don't have to answer to a neighbor, and that has happened. "Who are you? Where have you been? Why are you here?" You don't have to answer to any of those people. You do have to answer to the police and just let them know what it is, okay? And if you're feeling unsafe in all these situations, call your manager first and just say, "Hey, this neighborhood may be too much of a hostile environment for me. I have this neighbor questioning who I am and all these things, even though I am fully suited up. I've got my company shirt on, I've got the company magnet on my truck, all the things. And please, can you have somebody call the insured or stay on the phone with me while I interact with the police if they need to ask about who I am or whatever, or see my badge?" If it's the insured themselves that are hostile, you have every right again to call management and let them know, and trust your instincts and let them know, "I don't feel safe working in this environment." You have every right to say that. Please, please, please follow your first mind, spatial awareness, pay attention. If you're on the phone and an insured is doing racial slurs at you, calling you the N word, or if you're a woman, calling you a bitch woo woo woo. It's one thing for them to be on the phone mad and just venting about the process. That's different than them making direct attacks at you. Um, Again, say, "You know what? I'm going to have to disconnect this line. I need to contact my management and to see if maybe we can get another representative on your claim to whom you can respect and work with, because I can't work with you if you are already judging me based on who you think that I am, right? And you're not going to cooperate in your claims process, and I don't want that to hinder the progress of your claim. And that's how you can do that. I for instance, I had a situation where I was at this time I wasn't in the field. I was at the desk, and I was at the desk at an IA firm's office, and this little old Caucasian lady calls, and she says, "There's this man at my door. He's saying he's my adjuster, but I don't believe him." So I'm like, "Okay, let me figure out what's going on now." Um, again, my professional voice can be a little different, and sometimes you cannot tell what my color is because I did grow up in Los Angeles, California. We were taught to speak a certain way. Um, and so I went through the progress process. I said, "Well, ma'am, what does he say his name is?" And she went open the door for him. She's looking out through the peephole. And she says, gives the name, and I look in the file. That's the name of the adjuster, right? And I said, "Well, ma'am, does he have on his company shirt?" She says, "Yes." "Ma'am, does he have his company lanyard on?" She says, "Yes." I said, "Can you tell him put his badge to the peephole and confirm that his face is on the badge, his name is on the badge, and it is the name that you've given him?" And she said, "Yes, yes, yes. All that checks out." And I said, "Well, ma'am, that is, well, I just," every time I would verify something, she's like, "Yes, that's it, but I just don't think." And so once we went through everything and she realized I said, "Ma'am, that is your adjuster." And she finally just said it. She said, "Well, I don't want no N words in my house." I said, "Okay, I completely understand. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to make a note in the file that you're not comfortable with the adjuster." And I had to be very delicate how I noted the file, but that was the fact. Insured advised she would only prefer I didn't say she don't want no N words. I said insured prefers to only have a Caucasian adjuster at her house. That is how I noted the file. And so I advised her of the process, "Ma'am, because another adjuster has to be reassigned. This is going to be the time frame for it. It'll take X amount of days to get somebody reassigned, and then from there, depending on their schedule, um, you know, they'll put you in." And she said, "That's fine. I'll wait." I said, "Okay, no problem." I hung up the phone like, "Girl, that's your claim. Oh boy, could have got you taken care of, but oh well." And I told the adjuster, I called him personally. I mean, I called him on the company line and called his phone and said, "Okay, this is the scenario. She only wants Caucasian adjusters." He said, "Hey, that's fine with me." Because as a field adjuster, they still get paid even if somebody does something like that, right? It's almost like they withdrew the claim, but they didn't. So they still get paid a fee for trying to go out there and show up. Um, so she said she didn't want no N words at her house. That's fine. And he was like, "Hey, that's good with me. That was my last inspection of the day. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to the hotel. I'm gonna close these other claims." Boom, no problem. Right. So you're gonna have to deal with some things out here. And it is gonna be unique to our experience of being who we are, just because people will judge you just for no other reason than the color of your skin. I get judged sometimes, especially when I was newer and I had like less than 10 years under my belt. I catch on to things very quickly, and so I excel very quickly in this industry because of that. But I would be put in environments with adjusters who had a lot more years on me and who were Caucasian, and they looking at my young black butt like, "How is she here? What does she know?" And I would get challenged on my knowledge set all the time. Or I would be out in the field and they just thought because I was a black, but because I was a woman, period, not just because I was black, but just because I was a woman, they didn't think I was gonna get on the roof. I literally had contractors be like, "Let me see she get up there." I'm getting up there too. What you mean? I'm not afraid of heights. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do my job, and I would most of the time see more damage than the contractor would see. I'm like, "Did you see this over here?" "Oh no, I didn't see that." And after that, they began to relax. Like, right? Because it shouldn't matter what I look like. It shouldn't matter my gender or the color of my skin. What should matter is, do I have the knowledge and the skill set to get the job done, to identify the damages, to reconcile this claim, to get these folks paid, to handle this claim correctly and efficiently. That should be the only thing that matters. And a lot of times, once you get past that initial point, everybody's on board, but in the beginning, yeah, it gets tough, and you might have to deal with some workplace bullying. I had to deal with that as well. Sometimes it was just workplace bullying because I think most of the time I don't even think it was my skin color. I think it was because I was a threat, because I was good, because I did know more, because I did work harder at my job than everybody else, because I was more efficient, right? And because I just have a natural light and I just shine. And and that made me a target for some people. So how do you your mental have somebody that you can talk to and vent with? I was so grateful to have my mother working with me on the first couple of storms in the beginning, because when I tell you, especially when we were in Alabama and dealing with all the racism and the prejudice of Alabama, both in and out of the workplace, we would go to our hotel. We shared a hotel room. We would go to our hotel every night and just vent, just all that visceral and venom that came our way. We would just say, "Can you believe that MF don't know me? I just," ooh. And then after after we get done venting, we'd be like, "You cool? You got anything else you want to say?" "Yeah, no, I'm good." We just let it all out, and we would, go to sleep, wake up, rinse, repeat, do it all over again the next day. But that was therapy for us. It was cathartic for us. We needed that cleansing, because if we held on to that for the next day and the next day and the next day, every day would have been a blow up, because it was tough. Um, it it was really tough. It was really tough, and there were times where I went home when I didn't have her there to vent, and I didn't have anybody that I felt safe around to talk to. Um, I would just go home and cry. But then one thing that I did start doing, I did sign up for, and you can guys can do this. This is a tax write-off. Sign up for therapy. Sign up, if at the very least, sign up to get weekly massages and work, because all of that stress, it builds up in your body. Your neck will start getting tight, your upper body, your upper back, and now all of this will start getting tight. And what you can do is Massage Envy. I had a membership for Massage Envy, and I would go there every week so that somebody could work them knots out, because it was tough. Um, if you can do both, a massage and a therapist, that would be excellent. And definitely don't just have that. Have a budget for that even after you're done with the storm, so that you can work that you can work that stressful, excuse me, tension out. Sometimes, if you got somebody there to also help you with the tension, you may be able to release it sexually as well. Okay, now I'm just saying. But you got to find a form of release. You need to have somebody that you can talk to and vent with, even if it's somebody who's not necessarily on that storm with you. Make sure that just call them up. They may be your homeboy or your homegirl, your cousin or your auntie or whoever that's working another storm in another state and dealing with another set of issues. Um, Talk to them. Talk to someone. Do not hold it in. Don't hold that mess in. All that energy they trying to bring your way, that negative energy, because of their prejudices and their biases. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. How dare they judge you? How dare they? Shame on them. Okay? Shame on their mama. Judge your mama. Don't judge me. And don't be mad because I'm better than you. But the best way to get at it, my whole thing is, revenge is a dish best served cold. Imma be colder than you. Imma be smarter than you. Imma be faster than you. I'm gonna be better at your job than you are. And I have done that. I have taken and I have dealt with some of that racism and those microaggressions with other adjusters in the workplace. And what I did was I outperformed them, so that when it came to cut time, they got cut and I stayed. Or I got promoted and they stayed in the position they were in. They moved me to team lead and fast path. They were still down there working them everyday claims. That's how I do it. I walk past you. You hear me? I literally had somebody tell me, "Oh, you'll never make it in here." Not only did I make it in there within 2 years of that conversation with that person, when it was time to be cut, they got cut. I got to stay. So just be cold as ice, okay? And beat them at their own game. That will give you the greatest form of satisfaction that you could ever get from punching them in the face. Trust me. Excelling over you. Oh, yeah. You should feel threatened because I am a threat. You hear me? Let me help you realize your fears by outperforming you. Let me help you realize your fears by sleeping with this policy, reading it for fun after hours and at bedtime and at lunch so that I can interpret it better than you. Let me work up on my typing skills so I can type faster than you. Let me work up on my customer service and my auditory skills so I can talk better than you. So I know how to de escalate a claim. So I know how to troubleshoot and make a hot claim cold, right? So that when it's time, I get the promotion. I become the core adjuster. You go to the wayside. And that's how you cope. That's me though. I'm very competitive. But you all can do it how you want to do it. But definitely get therapy, talk to somebody. And if it's something that, again, you're in an environment you do not feel safe if you're in the field, it is okay to call your manager up. The police getting called on you just because you arrived early and you're just sitting in your truck trying to make sure you're at the right address and that you know what you're looking at and you know what you got to inspect. Call your manager, get somebody on the line, of your higher ups, team lead, manager, whoever you can get, who can be on that phone with while the cop is trying to give you a hard time. If it's a hostile neighbor, same thing. And if it's a fellow adjuster, HR complaint. And if there's a witness, see if you can also get that witness to agree to put something in writing to support what they just witnessed. Okay. And again, due to labor laws, when it comes to racial discrimination, there is federal laws against it. I don't care what state you're working in. um, if they retaliate against you, that's illegal as well for making the HR complaint. So if you're retaliated against because you made the complaint, also document that as well. Document the behavior of whoever you were complaining on, management, because sometimes they will literally back each other up rather than correct each other, which is just stupid. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have a conducive working environment, it affects our morale, it affects our motivation, it makes the working environment very hostile, which brings down productivity. And at the end of the day, the whole point of all of this is to close the freaking claims, not to try to keep somebody under your thumb, not to be some racist, bigoted idiot. It is to close the claims because you being racist to me, but the claim that I'm handling may be one of your Caucasian brother, sister, auntie, uncle, cousin. And now I can't handle it, right? Because you over here with me. All right, you all. That's all I got to say. I'm gonna let you all go. So I thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, some of these real life stories, we had a little bit of story time. Hopefully, some of these real life stories will help you to cope. You may be dealing with something right now. Start documenting everything in detail. Um, if you got to secretly record some folks because they are habitual line steppers and they are just egregious with the workplace bullying and the prejudice and the racist, do what you gotta do to protect yourself, okay? And document everything. Don't put anything past them, and also at the same time, if somebody says something offensive to you, it's okay to say, "You know what, Steve? That was offensive. I didn't like that." Because sometimes some folks just don't know what they're saying is wrong until they're corrected. And I'm one of those people, it's a thing that I used to say, people used to laugh at me in the office about. I said, "You gotta check these folks in their drawers." I don't let anybody get away with saying anything wayward to me, no matter how slick or shady you try to do. Uh-uh. I let nothing get past me. And it's because if I feel like if I don't get on you now, if I don't correct you now, then I'm giving you the green light. I'm saying this is okay. That joke was funny. Oh, he didn't mean it like that. No, that's offensive. I don't like it. Okay. So, anywho, if you are currently a licensed adjuster and you are needing to renew your license, but you do not have all the CEs that you need, please feel free to tap into our partnership website with WebCE, and that is www.webce.com/TPAS. And depending on what classes you're picking, whether it's continuing education or even pre-licensing, I want you to set up I want you to set up a free profile. Select which class subjects you need, continuing education or pre-licensing. select your state, and you'll get a 10% discount, you guys. Whoop, 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 whoop. Can we get some cheering for that? Wait. No. Nay. Yes, get that 10% discount at www.webce.com/TPAS on your CEs. They have pre made packages that'll have everything you need for your home state or your licensing state. They also have individual classes. Now, it's all self study, you all, but they got some good modules in there. Okay, just work through it, get ahead of it now. All right, so that you can have it done by the time it is to renew. And I think the pre made packages are pretty cheap. They're like 60, $70 usually for each state. So it's not too bad. Of course, if you want to take one of TPAS's classes that offer CEs, our personal property contents course offers 16 CEs. One of them is for ethics, so it'll be 15 general and one ethics CE. And our residential property policy interpretation course comes with 16 general CEs as well. And guess what, you all? We've got a 2024 hurricane season summer discount sale. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So with that sale, you're going to get 20% off of all of the TPAS courses except for licensing, 20% off. I might even up the ante, you all, because this season is getting pretty big. I might take it up to maybe 30%. Let me think about it for a minute. But if I do, the code is summer 24. Summer in all caps 24 is the discount code that you can tap into to get 20% off on the TPAS.LLC website. I thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope that I had to go deep. I had to get personal with this one, but I hope that sharing our experiences helps you move forward and stay motivated. You deserve to be here. It should not matter what you look like and what your skin color is. Outperform them. I know it's ridiculous. 10 times faster, 10 times smarter, work 10 times harder until things can not only be equal but equitable. That is the world that we are still living in, you all. And so the best way to do is to beat people at their own game, give them that great professionalism and that smile, or be and be what I call nice nasty, like "Mm, let me outperform you, Steve. Okay. So you can shut the hell up and get out of my face. But anyhow, I am tapping out, you all. I thank you for tuning in. Thank you. We took a little few extra minutes here on the end because we are having technical difficulties with a very delayed stream. But thank you for hanging in there with me. I truly, truly appreciate you. I thank you for your support. If you like this video, if the message has resonated with you, please support our channel. It's free. Subscribe, like, and share. And I will see you all next week for another episode of the Adjuster Checkup. Talk to you all later. Be good to each other and give each other grace, everyone.